Good evening and welcome to today's weather update. As usual, we'll start with the radar image that is currently going on for the time that I start this. So it's 10 past 10 Eastern Standard Time. Now, we had some severe storms across the southeast Queensland area today. Only isolated ones, but there were some reports of quite large hail with them. There was about 3 areas. 2 were not warned for, which I feel they should have been, but they weren't. The third one was, which is this little part going off the coast here. When that was further inland, that was severe warned by the bomb, but there were 2 before. One that the page actually warned for, and one prior to that that should have been warned for. Um, so yes, that was not a great thing from the bureau not to bother warning some of them. But anyway, that's a different situation. But anyway, so that's what happened down there. And there's a few showers and storms dotted about across the country, as you can see there. A few storms around the south, top end here. Not anything too bad. So had a bit of storm activity go through earlier today, so it's settled down this evening. So that's current conditions. Just going to quickly have a look at the rainfall totals for today across southeast Queensland to begin with. As you see, not much in the range of rainfall really, like not huge falls. There are a few bits where we're seeing over 20 mil around here, and there is one that has 78. Now, personally, I think that's a bit sus because if you look at all the other stations around it, they were significantly lower. So you've got 34 here, 12, 15, 22. And I was watching it earlier, and the rain was going all across these things. So to me, that could be an error, because just doesn't look correct going off all the other stations around it. But anyway, it's there. There wouldn't be the first time that stations have given error amounts before. I don't know if you remember a few videos ago, we had 365k for Coolangatta, which was an obvious error because the month total was about less than 100 mil, so there was no way 365 had fell that day. So yeah, this could be an error. I'm a bit sus of it. I'm not saying it's definitely not correct, but yeah, like just going off the nearby stations as well. It's a bit of a could be, maybe not. Bit sus. Okay, we're going to go do a bit different this time, and I'm going to include the climate driver update within the video. So we're going to start with the ENSO, and so we've got the update. This is as of yesterday, and the value is minus 0.84, and that looks like it's about 2 weeks. It's held below 0.8. So that's within, so this blue line here, that's anything below that is usually in the La Nina area. Now, these figures need to hold for at least 6. I went blank. These figures need to hold for around 3 months, so 90 days. So you can see here in previous events for La Nina, it was over 3 months, and the same with the El Nino the other year that they go for over 3 months. So that's what we're looking for. So at the moment, it's below the minus 0.8, but it needs to hold there. It has gone up a little bit since last week, so we'll see what happens with that one. Now we'll just move on to the 30-day SOI, so the Southern Oscillation Index, is well within the La Nina area, so anything above this blue line. However, the 90-day value, so the 90-day value is now sitting at 7.51. So anything over 7 is it can be associated with the La Nina. Now the ocean temperatures are behind still, so this is a long way off from being declared, if La Nina even is declared. But it is starting to turn into a La Nina-like state out in the Pacific, so we'll just have to keep monitoring that. So far the atmosphere is coupling, but the sea surface temperatures need to hold for a little bit longer to be, well, actually quite a bit longer to be classified. So still got a ways to go. Now let's just go to the Indian Ocean. After a massive peak last week, it went down to almost 2. This was actually the strongest IOD value in the negative, so the negative IOD that we have seen since we've been recording this. So this is quite a substantial value that it went down for. Now it's gone skyrocketing back up again this week. So we should technically start seeing this heading towards the neutral area. It may, as you can see with previous lines here, it does go up and down, but we should see a general increase going towards the negative area as we move forward. Now we're just going to have a quick look at the outlooks here. So this is from the Bureau and their relative Nino 3.4 outlooks. These do match pretty much other agencies at the moment. So we could see sustained. I don't think they're going to be quite this low, but we should see. They think that we're going to see a La Nina come into play. It's likely to be weak. Like I said, I don't think these values. I think these values may be a little overcooked, but we'll see how things track along. And as you can see by the margin of error here, it may not even dip for long into the La Nina thresholds. So, but the mean forecast from them is that it will remain fairly sustained long enough to be classed. So we've got an 88.9% chance in December, 92.9% chance in January, and then drops down to more chance of neutral going by their outlook. So we'll just monitor that as the time goes on. As for the IOD, this one's pretty cut and dry. This typically weakens when the monsoon is in the southern hemisphere. Now it does weaken beforehand, but it pushes it into neutral areas once the monsoon is actually in the southern hemisphere, as it changes the wind patterns, which then redistributes the water and it becomes neutral. This is expected to happen around late November into December time, as you can see here. But that will all depend on when the monsoon actually forms in the southern hemisphere. And when I say it forms in the southern hemisphere, it doesn't mean that Australia is going to get the monsoon. This is just south of the equator. Usually it will be somewhere near Indonesia, somewhere out there that it will form first, and then will slowly make its way towards us. At this current time, there is no modelling that shows any sort of monsoon flow coming in the next at least 2 weeks. So yeah, there's nothing on modelling to show us any sort of monsoon at the moment. So, but as usual, by December the monsoon normally has formed. So yeah, that's why this outlook is showing returning to more neutral conditions come February. And then by the end of December, that's usually when the monsoon starts to affect Australia, starting in Darwin most years. That's where the onset is measured. So that's the around Christmas time is the monsoon onset average. This is probably not the clearest, unfortunately, because I can't zoom in on any of this, but I found this outlook to be quite accurate for the SAM. They call it the AAO index, but the Antarctic index, oscillation index, but that's pretty much another word for the SAM, so the Southern Annular Mode. So I found this particular site, which I think is it's from the National Oceana, the Weather Service in America. But yeah, I find this to be quite accurate with their outlooks. They have less of a margin of error compared to the bomb one, and been watching this for like over a month now, and they do really well with their outlooks. And this mean line will more than likely be where the SAM is. So yeah, it's been very, very good. Anyhow, so as we have here, the SAM is going to drop into negative again. It's been mostly either neutral negative or proper negative for quite a while since winter, end of winter, around August time, late August it dropped, and it's pretty much remained down in the negative area, either negative, neutral, or actual negative for the majority of the time, except for these few little bits here. And that's likely to happen again and continue into the foreseeable future. So that will mean that those cold fronts down south will continue, and it will probably keep cooler weather down there. Wet wise, it's not expected to be overly wet, but you will see a bit of rainfall associated with any cold fronts that come by. So that's the climate drivers. Okay, so I'm going to touch on GFS. And in a post that I made on Facebook, I brought up the fact that GFS likes to bring up some interesting scenarios, including random cyclones that it predicts to hit Brisbane at Category 5, which never eventuate. So you have to be very, very cautious with this particular model. As I'm showing here, it had a low pressure tropical low forecast to affect the top end in about a week's time. Now that did hold for a couple of model runs, as you can see here, and it did slowly creep a little further up. However, as GFS often does, in the latest run, it's dropped. There's a bit more broad low pressure, so nothing, overly excitable, but it's downgraded. Now I expect that to remain downgraded because it is literally the only model that I've seen that had this prediction in. So to actually bring this out and predict that it's going to happen, it's going to fail because it's not backed up by any other models. So we'll go to the one that has the better track record with tropical weather, and that's EC. And as you can see here, other than like a bit of random low pressure appearing here and there, there's nothing sustained. So I often will use EC for tropical weather because of how well it performs. And so if EC is showing nothing, then I pretty much dismiss most other modeling. Access is usually okay closer to an event, but even access isn't the best. Now, so GFS is a little low pressure cyclone that it had coming out. I'd disregard it for now. Of course, with any blip that comes up on models, I do monitor it, like I've been watching that run since it showed up the other day. And as expected, it's just downgraded as time's gone on. So I expect to see that downgrade a little bit more as we progress. Now, obviously, we are getting into that period where tropical lows will start showing, but unless they're on other models, like I just said, I wouldn't pay too much attention to them unless they're sustained for quite a while. Okay, we're just going to go into the rainfall outlook now for the next 7 days. Now, regardless of low pressure systems or not, there is a weak pulse of MGO in the Western Pacific Ocean at the moment. Now, with that brings excessive cloud and rainfall to Northern Australia, and this is being shown on this outlook right here. So you can see that a lot of the north has got a enhanced rainfall chance up here. So so regardless what happens with any low pressure systems, the rain is still likely to come. So we're likely to see some storms and even rain areas around the top end, Kimberley, across the Cape. There's a bit of a band of cloud that should affect the northwest down into the southeast of Queensland over the next week. So there's quite a lot of rainfall expected as we move forward. So the rainfall for Queensland will be later in the week, whereas most of the rainfall for Northern Territory will be earlier in the week and extending into the later in the week. So this is the EC modeling. We can have a look at GFS. It's pretty much showing the same with the enhanced rainfall around the north. It's not as keen for widespread rain across Queensland. Still some there, but not quite as much as EC's putting out. And we'll just have a look at access now once it loads. So the weather zone access model wasn't loading, so I had to change website. So here is the same period, the access modeling. So you can see an increase in rainfall over the northwest here. Not so much across Cape, but we can still see that increase in the rest of Queensland down here as well. Now we'll just have a look at the multi-model mean. So this typically takes all of them into consideration and gives you a fairly accurate average. So it takes any extremes that models might have. So, but in this case, we still have that increase of moisture and rainfall across the northwest. Well, that's about all for today. So thank you for watching as usual, and have a good rest of your day and enjoy the next week. and I will do another video in a couple of days' time.